Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another film theory reaction. Now, I don't know if the camera will be able to pick it up, but I was working outside today, so if you see, like, actual tan lines on my face, that's why. Now, onto the actual important thing, today's video, how to kill Wolverine. Yeah, so I mean, with Deadpool and Wolverine on the horizon, that is certainly a question. So, okay, so I'm gonna have to pull out my admittedly rather sparse Marvel knowledge here. But if I remember correctly, depending on like continuity in time, it's very hard to kill Wolverine. Like, all you need is like a cell and he'll start to regenerate from it or something, depending on like the timeline. Granted, I think in that case, you get the whole thing of him losing his memories, so, basically starting off at square one. But, also, I think if I remember correctly, the adamantium that's on his bones, is slowly killing him. Like, I think the way it would work is that without the vibranium on his skeleton, if he was still, just normal and had normal bone claws and all that, I think theoretically he's immortal because, his DNA regenerates and repairs itself, but the adamantium is a heavy metal and it is slowly poisoning him. So that's why, even though he does have, the superhuman regeneration, mutation ability thing, he still ages normally with the adamantium skeleton. So, I mean, you could kill Wolverine just by waiting, because, with the adamantium, he may be, indestructible that way, but the sands of time are now, finite for him. Other than that, I think it was like from one of the some character kills the Marvel Universe, like that stories. I think it was actually Deadpool, where they basically had it where, like, he had strung up Wolverine and just had him continuously blasted with flamethrowers, and he basically had that on for like 12 hours straight, and then that eventually killed him, and you were just left with the adamantium skeleton with like whatever, bone marrow or cells within the bones having been cooked, essentially. At least, I think that's how it went. It's been a while since I've heard anything from that story. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna definitely have to see, because, I mean, this isn't the first time that, one of the Theories channels has taken a seemingly invincible character and, found a way to actually kill them. Cough, cough, Superman. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my game theory reaction, and yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Credit where credit's due. Wolverine doesn't let anything keep him down. He's been shot, stabbed, thrown around by Magneto, blasted with a nuke. In the comics, he's been torn in two by the Hulk and steamrolled by the Punisher. He's been fed grenades, hit with every disease known to man, and yet he keeps clawing his way back for more. But everyone's missed one simple way to kill him, and today, we're gonna change the way you see this Canuck forever.
I can't do this. What the f am I even doing?
Oh god. I'm gonna be completely honest here. I mean, while I've loved the last two Deadpool movies, now that there's the possibility of him entering the MCU, I am very afraid. And I'm gonna wait until I'm gonna wait and see what other people think before I see it for myself. And let's just say that.
Hello Internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's the best at what it does, and what it does isn't very nice. Well, if you think edutainment is mean. So, it's no secret that the MCU is in a bit
it's punching me in the face with knowledge
of a sorry state between box office bombs and underwhelming Disney Plus shows. But Deadpool and Wolverine saw that and thought,
the whole world's going to hell, you just going to sit there?
Finally, Deadpool and Wolverine are headed back to theaters in just a few short days, putting these two oddballs together for the first time.
My God, you ever shut up? No. Not when I'm awake.
Okay, yeah, well, I try my best to forget that X-Men Origins Wolverine even exists. But with this new Deadpool and Wolverine movie reteaming everyone's favorite merc with a mouth and Knucklehead, I wanted to revisit the series. After all, one of our most popular theories ever was actually a strategy guide on how to kill Deadpool, so I figure, why not give old Logan here the same—
I remember seeing that. Was that really 8 years ago? Wow, okay.
Sort of treatment. This is a character who is famous for basically being unkillable, healing from pretty much any wound you can throw at him, so obviously I took that as a certified theorist challenge. See, in that old How to Kill Deadpool video, my friend and evil mentor MatPat suggested that to kill Deadpool, and by extension Wolverine, you just need to destroy the parts of the brain that hold on to long-term memory. This would erase any neural patterns that make up their memories, and no matter how good their healing factor is, as William Stryker explains,
his brain may heal, his memories won't grow back.
And he's right. The plan works in this very movie. And it's kind of ironic that like one of the worst X-Men movies has some of the most accurate science. Sure, if we erase...
That is usually how it works, isn't it? Like, granted, I mean, sometimes you have the movies that have like the perfect combo, but for some reason, sometimes it's just, the science is really good, but the movie sucks. But you can say, hey, this actually works, this is actually accurate, while literally everything else isn't. Or it's the other way around. It's kind of annoying.
Logan's memories in this way, he loses everything that makes him him. But in a multiverse with telepaths and magic sorcerers and genius billionaire playboy philanthropists, there's surely a way for Wolverine to get his memories back.
Well, I mean, that last one, he's not really around anymore now, is he?
So I wanted a more permanent solution here. I want to know, can you actually kill Wolverine? If we look at the science of how our bodies work, can we find a way that can shut down his healing factor and actually send Wolverine to an early grave?
Adamantium!
Or will it take nothing short of the Infinity Gauntlet to take him out? Well, after doing some digging, Wolverine has one major weakness that I'm shocked that no one has ever really exploited.
Yeah, I know. They're not ready, Storm.
Here's a hint for you. Logan's going to be in a bit over his head. Snicked your claws, loyal theorists, as we hatch the perfect plot to kill Wolverine.
Wait, are they just going to drown him? Because over his head, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could say that, see that. I mean, just, you know, somehow restrain him, keep him underwater, and then have him just suffocate until, you know, every cell in his body is dead from lack of oxygen. I mean, it's a bit anticlimactic, but I mean, it could work. I mean, the only problem is you'd have to find something that could, you know, restrain him. Either that or knock him out and lock him into, like, a pot and set it to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and then he, you know, suffocates that way. I have to put more thought into that one.
Ready to die.
Yeah, he sure is. So if we want to kill Wolverine, what are the main problems we're going to be facing here? What sorts of powers does he have that might make Operation Wolver Cleanup on Aisle 5 a bit tough?
Extreme
well,
regeneration.
That would be really good at killing you in a fight. The two main issues we're going to have here are Wolverine's skeleton and his healing factor. Let's tackle the skeleton first, shall we? Yeah, this is probably one of Logan's most iconic models.
That picture.
After being experimented on by Weapon X, his entire skeleton is coated in a fictitious unbreakable metal alloy called adamantium. Normally, this would mean that no weapon would be able to cut through Wolverine's whole body. It's unbreakable after all. The only thing that we've ever been shown to cut through adamantium is more adamantium, especially if it's been superheated. We actually see this exact thing happen in the Wolverine with Silver Samurai.
Actually, wait a second. That reminds me. What is adamantium made out of? Because it's an alloy. Is it an alloy of vibranium? Let me just quickly look this up, just so I remember. Wait, adamantium is created by mixing certain chemical resins together? That composition is a closely guarded secret of the United States government. When these resins are mixed and kept at a temperature of 1500 degrees Fahrenheit, the resulting liquid can be cast or worked into particular shape. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Again, I thought it was made out of vibranium or something. There you go. Oh, never mind. I was right. It is an alloy. It's steel, vibranium, and an unknown catalyst.
Also, can I just say that it really bothers me that the next time Wolverine shows up in Days of Future Past, he has the metal claws again? Like, sure, the bone claws would grow back, probably, but like, the metal? Where's the metal coming from? But regardless, if we look elsewhere in the movies, we actually find proof that Wolverine's adamantium skeleton isn't as strong as you might think it is. In Logan, we learn that Wolverine is slowly dying because his healing factor has stopped working, and the adamantium on his skeleton is poisoning his body. As a doctor in the film explains,
something inside you is poisoning you. do, you've got to check yourself into a hospital.
Obviously, this is bad news for Logan, since adamantium poisoning would be killing him in the same way that lead poisoning does. The way that works is that lead particles, flakes, or powder get into your bloodstream and is then super eager to replace the calcium in your body's natural processes, getting deposited in your brain and bones. This then causes mental decline, weakened bones, and anemia.
Which, I mean, given that he literally has this metal coating his bones, which, I mean, I'm surprised that the process didn't happen a lot sooner. Though I don't think you'd have to worry about weakened bones at the very least.
Here's the thing, if the adamantium inside of Wolverine's body is unbreakable as it's claimed, it can't be poisoning him. That can't be a thing. The whole point of adamantium is that it's indestructible. It's simply too strong and would be too stable to erode, flake, or break off particles that would travel through Logan's bloodstream to poison him. More or less, it should be biocompatible. That means that it's chemically inert and can coexist in your body. It's invisible to your immune system, like a hip or a joint replacement, so your body won't reject it. So, if Wolverine is dying from adamantium poisoning in Logan, and adamantium is unbreakable, it means that this can't be pure adamantium. His skeleton has to be covered in something else, like some weaker adamantium alloy maybe. Thankfully, there is an answer to this in the comics itself. Beta adamantium. Wonder if we're ever gonna be getting sigma adamantium. Regardless, this stuff is like adamantium's slightly weaker cousin and was made by a literal fusing of bone with pure adamantium metal. So more or less it's an alloy of adamantium, protein, and calcium. This means that it would likely be weaker than actual adamantium, and explain how and why it's breaking down enough to poison the rest of his body.
Well, I mean, given that, you know, the wiki page I was literally on, there were, wait, what, how many were there? Geez, there's a lot of different types of adamantium here. Okay. Wait, carbadium? It was an unstable metal that is vastly stronger than steel, but is more flexible than adamantium. Okay, but anyway, yeah. So on here, at least the first like 3 versions. So you have proto-adamantium, which was the adamantium that with the vibranium in it. That was, you know, that was like was made into Captain America's shield. Now apparently they've never like remade that because they don't know what the actual ratios of all the metal are, because the guy who was making it or experimenting at the time fell asleep. Then you have true adamantium, which doesn't have a vibranium in it. It's almost as strong as proto-adamantium, but it can still be manipulated by like really powerful godlike beings, or, you know, magnetic powers like Magneto. Then you have like, what is it, secondary vibranium. It's easier to make, but it's stronger than titanium. It's sometimes also called adamantium steel. And then there's adamantium beta. Wolverine's skeleton was originally reinforced with true adamantium. His mutant healing factor not only allowed him to survive the process, but it also introduced a molecular change to the metal. Adamantium beta functions like true adamantium, but does not inhibit the biological processes of the bones. This fact only becomes apparent after Magneto forcibly extracts the adamantium from Wolverine's skeleton. On occasions, when Wolverine lost his mutant regeneration ability, he was gradually poisoned by the adamantium each time. Okay, so yeah, something else was taking away his healing factor.
And ironically, this would actually be beneficial for Wolverine in the long run. Tell me, have you ever wondered how Wolverine actually makes blood? Bones aren't just there for skeletal support, they're where your body makes the blood it needs to spread oxygen and nutrients throughout it. So if your bones were completely coated in an unbreakable metal, the blood being made in your bones couldn't actually get to the rest of your body.
Actually, I do know that, I know the reason why they do that. Like, I mean, like, the bones make the blood and stuff like that. And the main reason is because your bones are basically the furthest part away from the surface of your body and the least likely to get, you know, damaged from, like, UV rays and stuff like that. So basically, that you make your blood, arguably one of the most important substances in your body, furthest away from the stuff that could cause damage to that blood-making process. Which, you know, I mean, for me, I would have just chalked it up to, you know, there was space there. But, you know, hey, it works.
And we know that Wolverine doesn't like suck up the blood he loses. When he regenerates from a head wound in X-Men 2, we see a small blood trail that stays outside of the skin when the wound closes. But if this unbreakable metal wasn't so unbreakable and could wear down, well, then the blood could feasibly get through and into the rest of the body.
Or also, it could, or, you know, it could also be porous. Who knows?
Oh, is that the answer? Just wait a really long time like we see in Logan and let the adamantium poisoning take him down? Wrong! See, as we explained in a short that just went up, the reason that Wolverine was really losing his healing factor in Logan wasn't because he was getting too old or that the adamantium was wearing it down. It was because he was drinking whiskey. In the Logan universe, the cure for the mutant gene was put into corn. Whiskey is primarily made from corn, so Logan was unknowingly drinking his healing factor away. So if he was in any other universe that didn't have the mutant cure put into the corn, or I don't know, just laid off the Jack Daniels for a bit, his healing factor would still be working and the adamantium wouldn't really be hurting him at all.
I completely forgot about the mutant cure. Right. Of course, that's what took his healing factor away. He was literally drinking the mutant cure. Oh, God. I've never seen that show before. I mean, but I'm surprised nobody's thought of that earlier. Jeez.
What we need to do now, then, is find a way to turn off his healing factor. Yeah, maybe that's not that huge of a surprise. The biggest obstacle keeping us from killing this guy who can heal from basically any wound would be the fact that he can heal from basically any wound. I'm not gonna lie to you, loyal theorists, this power is ridiculously cracked across all of Wolverine's appearances, across all media. Even in the movies, he survived being shot, stabbed, and even taking part of a nuclear explosion before picking himself and continuing on. His hair even grew back in that last one. Professor X would be so jealous. But despite all of that, this healing factor might not be as powerful as you've heard around the internet. See, something that I often see bandied about online here is that his healing factor is so powerful that he can regenerate from just a single drop of blood. But that isn't actually the case. While, yes, that did happen in the comics, Wolverine was only able to make this happen because his powers had been souped up by a magic crystal at the time. Completely coming back from just a single cell is definitely not something that he's normally capable of, proven many of the other times that Logan has died in the comics.
Okay, never mind. I was literally talking about that earlier. I did not know about the magic stone, though.
A couple big examples I'm thinking of. In the Days of Future Past comic, a Sentinel was able to kill Wolverine with just an energy blast, while the Punisher killed Wolverine by electrocuting him to such an extreme degree that it destroyed most of his flesh. So, for us today, all of that is good news, and shows that Wolverine's healing factor can be overcome and he can be killed. In fact, the secret to beating this healing, it's way more common than you might think. You can literally go get some right now. It's just water. The healing factor requires oxygen to work. In fact, one of the only times that Wolverine's son Daken, who also has a healing factor like Wolverine's, has died was the result of drowning. And believe it or not, but this actually has some backing in the real world.
Well, I mean, you gotta chalk one up for me. I literally predicted this at the beginning of the video. Oh my god, this is a first.
See, when a wound is healing in the real world, it requires oxygen to correctly regenerate. Our bodies need oxygen to produce high-energy phosphates that are vital for our cells to function, accelerate growth, and kill bad guy bacteria. And get this, basically the only major time that the 616 Prime Marvel Universe Wolverine died in the comics happened in a storyline called The Death of Wolverine. I mean, imagine that. And what happened here? Well, he was coated in molten adamantium, entombing him in a solid statue where he suffocated. His healing factor was weakened at this point, but even then, he died because of a lack of oxygen. But you don't need to coat Logan in some fictional metal to kill him with this. Honestly, any water should do the job just fine. See, the reason that drowning kills you is that it causes asphyxia. Your body isn't getting enough oxygen that it needs to function. That, in turn, leads to what's known as generalized hypoxia. Basically, your tissues are, again, not getting the oxygen they need to do what they do. After a while, this lack of oxygen to organs like the brain will cause you to black out, and then eventually will make your heart stop beating. All of this is then quickly followed by death.
Literally everything else failing,
to kill Wolverine, all you need to do is just toss him in the ocean, and depending on the Logan, he might sink like a stone. Yeah, funnily enough, here's where the huge disadvantage of that adamantium skeleton would be
He's very
all of
dense.
Logan. It would make it hard for him to keep his head above water, literally. See, despite the comics showing us that Logan can swim, his increased density means that he would be unable to float. According to Marvel's official website, Logan weighs in at 195 pounds, with 105 pounds of adamantium on his skeleton, and because of that, Wolverine's density would be huge. To get an idea of what I'm talking about here, we threw the Wolverine model from Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 into a 3D modeling software, properly scaled it to his canon height of 5'3", and found that his density would be roughly 1,411.6 kilograms per meter cubed. Water has a density of roughly 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter.
sinking.
So Wolverine having a higher density than that, he literally can't float because he's too thick. Thick with 4 C's. But of course, because we like to dot our I's and cross our T's here at Theorist, we had to do the same thing for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, because notoriously, the huge jacked man is a full foot taller than his comic counterpart, standing at 6'3". Huh. I wonder why they cast someone that tall.
You are a confident, powerful person, and 18 to 49-year-old women are super important demo for us, no cap.
Oh, yeah, okay, that checks out. Estimates put Jackman at roughly 200 pounds when he's in Wolverine shape, and because he's taller, he'd also have more skeleton, and would therefore need more adamantium to cover it. Doing some very rough back-of-the-napkin math, we'd need about 125 pounds of the metal for the job. Using the Jackman Wolverine model from X-Men the official game, we found that this Wolverine would have a density of about 796 kilograms per cubic meter, which would be enough to float, funnily enough. Yet all you'd need to do is strap 83 more pounds of adamantium, or anything heavy really, to his foot and toss him in for Wolvie to sink and sleep with the fishes. But okay, I hear you asking, even still, once he's out of the water and back into oxygen, he should be fine, right? And that's fair to ask.
Yeah,
Several
but I mean, there's
comics
also,
have
you
toyed
know,
with this
the problem of brain damage
over the years. In Wolverine Black, White, and Blood, he worries about drowning in the ocean, sinking to the bottom, and then getting trapped in a loop of drowning and reviving and drowning again. And in Wolverine number 19 from 2021, Logan tells a story about being trapped in a boat and drowning twice a day, only to revive once the tide is left. Honestly, that might be a fate even worse than death. Imagine water filling your lungs, your eyes bulging as you drown, only to awaken and do it again and again and again, over and over until the sun consumes the planet. That's not a good ending for Wolverine.
No, that's
also
horrible.
Not exactly what we're looking for. He's
Yeah,
still
he's not
technically
dead.
alive here after all. Or would he be? See, here's the real kicker. While Wolverine's there in the water, he shouldn't be reviving at all. Remember, his body should be unable to regenerate because it doesn't have access to the oxygen it needs to do so. His body should be acting like any normal human body underwater. And do you know what happens to human bodies that are dead? They decompose. Slowly, because he can't revive, Logan's body would start to wither away, consumed by the bacteria and scavengers and predators in the water. Over time, there's going to be less and less of his body left, and without his healing factor turned off because it has no access to oxygen, eventually, there's going to be nothing left. No cells left to regenerate, even if he somehow gets brought back up to the surface. Honestly, given everything we know about him, this is a perfect weakness for this character. His skeleton makes him significantly heavier, heavy things sink in water, and water turns off the power keeping him alive. It's dastardly, genius even. And incidentally, Magneto almost straight up killed Logan this exact way in the Days of Future Past movie when he threw him into the Potomac. All of these villains who have tried to kill Wolverine over the years with molten adamantium, or energy blasts, or tossing him into the sun, or poisoning his whiskey with a mutant cure, it didn't need to be that complicated. At the end of the day, all you really need to kill Wolverine is a bathtub and a barbell. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. And if you're looking to...
Oh, God. You know, at the end of the day, you have to wonder, like, is there really, when it comes to comic books, is there really anything for, like, online theorists to really ask about? Because, like, comics have been going on for so many years at this point, that they have so many different stories with so many different writers. Just, they've thrown almost literally everything at the wall, and at this point, almost everything has stuck. Oh. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. Yeah, the whole thing, definitely gonna have to see how, like, so yeah. Yeah, so at this point, still very curious to see how like Deadpool and Wolverine connects to the Marvel Universe. Are they going to keep Deadpool separate, but he's like in the multiverse now? Same with like Wolverine and the mutants. Is there going to be some sort of like DC Crisis on Infinite Earths type thing where they merge a bunch of universes together and then they're all there? Who knows? So yeah, that's going to be it for now. So, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my game theory reaction. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!